every place on Earth has something that keeps its people alive. Food, water, land worth farming. This place has none of that. No rivers cutting through its hills, no lakes holding fresh water, no oil hiding underground, no gold buried in its rock. Just rooftops, painted white, quietly catching every drop of rain that falls from the sky, because nothing else here ever will. And somewhere beneath its clear blue water, over 300 ships lie broken and forgotten, wrecked by reefs nobody could see coming until it was already too late. One of those wrecks, back in 1609, accidentally gave this island its very first home. Above those same wrecks today, some of the world's biggest insurance companies quietly manage billions of dollars in global risk. This is Bermuda. And somehow, out of almost nothing at all, it became one of the richest places in the entire world. Before you can understand Bermuda, you first need to understand exactly how little is actually there. From photos, it looks warm and tropical, almost like something floating near the Caribbean. But Bermuda actually sits completely alone in the North Atlantic, roughly 650 miles from North Carolina, surrounded by open ocean in every direction. It isn't even one single island either. It's really 181 small islands and reefs, connected together by bridges and narrow roads into one thin strip of land, stretching about 22 miles long. Seen from above, the whole shape looks almost like a giant fishhook drifting in the sea. Now look a little closer, and you start noticing everything that's missing. No rivers cutting through the land, no natural freshwater lakes, no oil reserves, no mineral deposits worth digging for. Basically, none of the things most countries rely on to build a strong, stable economy. The entire island is smaller than 1/10 the size of New York City, yet more than 60,000 people somehow call it home. Nearly everything, food, fuel, and basic supplies, has to travel here by ship across the ocean. Import taxes can climb as high as 35%. A simple carton of milk might cost around $10. A small apartment can run thousands of dollars every single month. By almost every normal economic rule, Bermuda should have struggled badly. Instead, against every reasonable expectation, it somehow became one of the wealthiest places anywhere on Earth. Bermuda never found oil buried under its ground. It never dug up gold from its rock either. Instead, it found something completely different, something nobody was ever actually looking for in the first place: a shipwreck. Back in 1609, a violent storm pushed a ship called the Sea Venture straight into Bermuda's hidden reefs. The crew had no choice left. They had to land wherever they could, and that turned out to be this small, unknown island. They never planned on staying here at all. But 3 years later, in 1612, those same survivors built a small town anyway, calling it St. George's. It eventually became the oldest surviving British settlement anywhere in the entire New World. Walk down its narrow red brick streets today, and 400 years suddenly feels surprisingly close. Pastel-colored houses line quiet little lanes. The smell of Bermuda cedar wood drifts through the air. Right in the center stands St. Peter's Church, the oldest Anglican church still holding regular services anywhere outside England itself. Nearby sits something stranger: the unfinished church. Its construction stopped long ago by storms and disagreements between townspeople. What's left behind are empty stone archways opening straight up toward open sky. An accidental kind of beauty nobody originally planned. St. George's never stayed stuck in the past, though. Today, massive modern super yachts sail into the exact same harbor where small wooden ships once landed centuries earlier. 4 centuries of history sitting comfortably right beside brand new luxury. Underneath Bermuda's pretty, calm water hides a much darker story than most visitors ever realize. The island's sharp coral reefs have wrecked more than 300 ships over the centuries, merchant boats, warships, and countless vessels carrying stories from every corner of the Atlantic. But here's the twist. The very same reef that destroyed those ships also became the reason Bermuda managed to survive. Beneath the bright blue surface lies a massive underwater graveyard, Spanish merchant ships resting beside World War II warships, each wreck holding its own hidden story. That reef isn't just dangerous to passing sailors, though. It also works like Bermuda's own personal shield. Think of it as a giant natural shock absorber, breaking the force of powerful Atlantic storms before they ever reach the shore. Without this coral protecting it, Bermuda would likely have been swallowed by the ocean long ago. Today, those same sunken ships have quietly become an underwater museum. Divers swim slowly through broken hulls, while colorful fish dart through rooms where sailors once slept centuries ago. Sea turtles glide gently across the wreckage, and octopuses tuck themselves into rocky cracks, almost impossible to spot even up close. The reef even runs its own cleaning crew. Parrotfish scrape algae directly off the coral using their hard, beak-like teeth, then grind old dead coral into fine sand. Much of Bermuda's famous soft beach sand actually comes from exactly this process. Every spring, something even bigger passes through. Humpback whales swim right by Bermuda during their annual migration, their deep songs traveling through the water like distant, ancient music. In 1994, Bermuda lost the one thing that had kept its entire economy alive for decades. For years, people had nicknamed the island the Gibraltar of the West. American, British, and Canadian military bases covered large parts of Bermuda, bringing steady jobs, foreign investment, and real strategic importance to this tiny place in the Atlantic. Then, one by one, those bases quietly shut down. Thousands of jobs vanished almost overnight. A massive source of income simply disappeared. And Bermuda found itself facing the exact same problem it always had: almost no natural resources of its own to fall back on. But this time, the island had actually learned something important along the way. If Bermuda could no longer sell its strategic location to the military, it could sell something else entirely instead: stability, trust, and a strong, honest legal system built over generations. The government quickly created new policies to attract global insurance and reinsurance companies from around the world. Old military land found brand new purposes almost overnight. Runways that once launched fighter jets now welcomed private planes carrying investors and business leaders instead. And the change that followed happened faster than almost anyone expected. In less than 10 years, Bermuda became one of the highest income places per person anywhere on the entire planet. Its greatest resource was no longer land or location or military value. It was trust, something money alone could never fully buy on its own. When hurricanes, earthquakes, or other disasters threaten billions of dollars somewhere in the world, much of that financial risk now gets managed right here in Bermuda. Behind all those billions of dollars flowing through Bermuda's financial system, the island still runs on something surprisingly simple: a greeting said before every single conversation, and a pair of shorts worn with a formal blazer. Walk into a shop, approach a stranger, or ask someone for directions, and you're expected to say good morning or good afternoon first, every single time. It sounds like a small detail, but on a tiny, isolated island where everyone shares the exact same limited space, that one habit has quietly become woven into the entire community's fabric. Then there are the famous Bermuda shorts, which actually started out as British military uniforms designed for hot tropical climates. Bermuda took that idea and turned it into something else entirely. Tailored shorts, knee-high socks, and a sharp blazer became the unofficial uniform of the island's serious business world. A man can walk into an important financial meeting wearing shorts and somehow still look completely formal doing it. Bermuda also enforces another unusual rule: one car per family. More than 60,000 people live here, squeezed onto a very small stretch of land, so the government limits each household to just one private car. Without that rule, the narrow island roads would quickly turn into one giant, endless traffic jam. Then, at certain times of the year, the music suddenly starts. The Gombe dance blends West African traditions together with Caribbean and indigenous influences. Bright costumes, wooden masks, pounding drums, and sharp, sudden movements carry real memories of struggle, identity, and hard-won freedom passed down for generations. But nothing brings the whole island together quite like Cup Match. For 2 full days, the entire country genuinely changes. Banks close their doors. Financial offices shut down completely. An old friendly rivalry between the towns of Somerset and St. George's takes over everything, as cricket becomes the only thing anyone wants to talk about. Cup Match also quietly marks the anniversary of the end of slavery in Bermuda, giving the celebration a much deeper meaning beneath the surface. Beneath Bermuda's polished, wealthy surface, an entirely different world is quietly hiding. Back in 1907, 2 young boys were simply playing cricket when their ball rolled straight into a small hole in the ground. They climbed down after it, just hoping to get their ball back. Instead, they accidentally found something incredible: Crystal Cave. Millions of years of slow, patient geology had built an entire world of stalactites, hanging from the ceiling like frozen glass chandeliers. Drop by drop, rainwater carrying tiny bits of mineral had built shapes so delicate that no human artist could ever hope to copy them by hand. Beneath the cave lies Cahao Lake, an underground lake so clear it's genuinely hard to judge its actual depth just by looking. The water rises and falls along with the ocean tides outside, creating a hidden, invisible link between the cave and the sea. The lake got its unusual name after workers found the fossil of an old seabird nearby, one called the Cahao. Not far away, Fantasy Cave feels different, its warm, earthy mineral colors shaping formations that barely even look real up close. At Blue Hole Park, known locally as Tom Moore's Jungle, mangrove trees surround hidden paths, and crystal-clear pools formed inside Bermuda's ancient limestone rock. These blue holes work almost like windows into the island itself. Rainwater slowly seeps through the soft rock, while seawater slips in through tiny cracks, together creating pools so clear the bottom feels close enough to touch. Bermuda is famous for its wealth. Its banks manage billions of dollars, and its homes sit on some of the most expensive land on Earth. But down inside these quiet caves, none of that seems to matter at all. There are no contracts here, no markets, no traffic. Just water, stone, darkness, and millions of quiet years, patiently waiting. For a brief moment, standing in that silence, the whole financial fortress above disappears. Bermuda becomes what it actually was before any humans arrived, a living piece of geology, slowly shaped by rain and the endless patience of the sea. At Horseshoe Bay, the beach looks almost too perfect to actually be real. The sand carries a soft, gentle pink color, but its secret is far smaller than the beach itself. Tiny living organisms called foraminifera live all around Bermuda's coral reefs. When they die, their tiny red shells break apart in the crashing Atlantic waves and mix in with plain white sand, creating Bermuda's famous pink shoreline that draws visitors from all over the world. But Bermuda's wildlife holds another story too, one about a bird almost nobody expected to see again. The Cahao, a small seabird, once filled Bermuda's skies by the millions. Then humans arrived, and within just a few decades, the bird seemed to vanish completely. Spanish sailors passing by at night even heard its strange, eerie calls, and genuinely believed the island itself was haunted by ghosts. Then, in 1951, scientists searching the island found something they thought was almost impossible: 18 surviving pairs of cohows, somehow still alive after all those years. Bermuda immediately began protecting them, building small shelters to guard the birds against storms and predators. Today, more than 150 pairs of cohows survive here, slowly rebuilding their numbers back up year after year. And standing tall above them all is Gibbs Hill Lighthouse. Built in 1844, it has 185 steps that rise more than 100 meters above the sea. For nearly 200 years, its light has warned passing ships to steer clear of Bermuda's deadly, hidden reefs below. Say the word Bermuda almost anywhere on Earth, and there's a good chance someone brings up the Bermuda Triangle before anything else. For decades, stories have circulated about ships and planes mysteriously vanishing inside this stretch of ocean, swallowed up without any trace, explanation, or warning. Books were written about it, documentaries were made, an entire legend grew around the idea that something strange, maybe even supernatural, was quietly happening beneath these waves. But when official organizations actually looked closely at the real data, the picture changed dramatically. Both the US Coast Guard and Lloyd's of London, one of the world's oldest and most respected insurance markets, studied disappearance rates inside the so-called triangle. Their conclusion was surprisingly simple: the number of incidents here wasn't actually higher than in any other heavily traveled stretch of ocean anywhere else in the world. The real explanation turned out to be far less mysterious than the legend suggested. This region sees heavy shipping traffic, sudden unpredictable storms, strong shifting currents, and, importantly, those same hidden coral reefs that wrecked over 300 ships throughout Bermuda's long history. In other words, the ocean here isn't cursed. It's simply busy, unpredictable, and occasionally dangerous, the same as plenty of other well-traveled waters around the globe. Locals in Bermuda mostly find the whole legend amusing rather than frightening. Souvenir shops happily sell Bermuda Triangle t-shirts and postcards to curious tourists. The mystery itself became part of the island's charm, a story that, whether entirely true or not, still manages to pull curious visitors from every corner of the world toward this small stretch of Atlantic Ocean. For hundreds of years, Bermuda survived by solving problems most countries never had to face at all. No rivers, no lakes, almost no natural resources of any kind. But today, a new challenge is quietly building, one that could threaten the island in a way nothing before it ever has: rising sea levels. Bermuda sits barely above the surrounding ocean, its highest point reaching just over 76 meters at Town Hill. Scientists studying climate patterns warn that even a small rise in sea level could seriously damage low-lying roads, historic buildings, and entire neighborhoods built centuries ago along the coastline. Stronger hurricanes present another growing risk. Bermuda already sits in the path of Atlantic storm season every year, and warmer ocean temperatures are making these storms more intense than they used to be. But if there's one thing Bermuda has proven throughout its entire history, it's an unusual talent for adapting quickly when survival demands it. Engineers are now testing new desalination technology, methods designed to turn ocean saltwater into safe, usable drinking water, potentially reducing the island's total dependence on rainfall alone for the first time in its long history. Coral restoration projects are underway too, actively working to strengthen the same reef system that has protected this island from crashing waves for hundreds of years. The insurance industry that rebuilt Bermuda's entire economy after 1994 is now, in many ways, studying its own home. Companies here calculate global climate risk every single day for other countries and other coastlines. Increasingly, they're forced to ask the exact same hard questions about their own small island, sitting quietly in the middle of the Atlantic. Whatever happens next, one thing seems likely. An island that turned a shipwreck into a settlement, and a military collapse into billion-dollar success, probably won't simply give up without finding some clever answer first. By now, the biggest question about Bermuda finally has its answer. This island never had rivers, lakes, oil, or gold. By almost every normal measure, it should have stayed poor, forgotten, small. Instead, it became one of the wealthiest places on the planet. Not once, but twice. First by accident, when a shipwreck created its very first town, and then by choice, when it deliberately rebuilt its entire economy after losing everything in 1994. Bermuda's real story was never really about resources buried underground. It was about how people respond when the ground beneath them offers almost nothing at all. A reef that destroyed 300 ships also became the shield protecting the island from the ocean. A collapsed military economy became the opening for a new, global financial industry. Even a bird, once thought completely extinct, came quietly back from the edge, one protected pair at a time. Nothing here was ever guaranteed. Every single piece of it had to be built, rebuilt, or rescued by people who simply refused to accept that having nothing meant staying with nothing forever. That might be the real reason the world keeps watching this tiny island so closely, wondering exactly how it managed to turn almost nothing into something extraordinary. At the end of the day, Bermuda's story keeps coming back to that one strange fact. An island with almost nothing managed to build almost everything. No rivers ever flowed here. No lakes ever formed. No oil, no gold, no minerals waiting underground for anyone to find. Just rooftops catching rainwater, a reef that both destroyed ships and protected a coastline, and people who kept choosing to rebuild every single time the island lost something it depended on. A shipwreck in 1609 gave Bermuda its very first town. A military collapse in 1994 gave it an entirely new economy. Even a bird once believed gone forever found its way quietly back from the edge of extinction. None of it happened because Bermuda had some hidden advantage nobody else had access to. It happened because the people here refused to treat nothing as a final answer, choosing instead to keep adapting, generation after generation, until nothing slowly turned into something remarkable. That might be the real lesson this small island keeps offering the rest of the world, quietly, without ever needing to shout about it. If this journey through Bermuda stayed with you, hit subscribe and join us as we uncover more places like this one. And if you've ever visited Bermuda yourself, drop a comment below and tell us what surprised you most about this tiny island that somehow built everything out of almost nothing at all.